So I went to Officer Candidate School at Montgomery, Alabama, at Maxwell Air Force Base. The school was there for a very short period. I went there. There were no other African Americans in this class, so I liked it very much. Worked real hard at it. The first two times that they published the grades, the person heading the list as the highest scoring individual in the class was Lucius. I did that for 3 consecutive periods. The classes were 4 months duration. However, for some reason or other, when they published the final scores, I wound up as second from the top of my class. I did not understand that because I felt that whatever scores I made in my last quarter of the class would not be enough to offset the fact that I had been number 1 in the classes before that. However, I said, well, that's probably the way it is. Maybe I did slip a little bit, and so I'll accept that. I learned later, and this, first of all, I did graduate second in my class from Officer Candidate School, again using my old principle of exceeding expectations. I know that I was not expected to do too well. But I'll tell you a little side story about that, too. When we arrived at Officer Candidate School, the tactical officer who briefed us said that you young men are fortunate to be here. Well, I don't see anything wrong with any of your records. There's no problem. We're sure that all of you will probably graduate. But in the meantime, you have to determine how you're going to be bunked, where you're going to sleep. Go find yourselves a room. You can bunk wherever you want. So again, not being misled by these kinds of words, I found a 6-man room, went to that room, went in, made down my bed. We had our bed rolls and so forth, made down my bed, and was in this room. And along came a young fellow from Mississippi, as a matter of fact. He stuck his head in and he said, "Lou, what are you doing in here by yourself?" And I said, "Well, you know, the captain told us we could choose a place to stay. And so since I didn't know anyone, I took this room." He said, "Well, I'll move in with you." So he went and got his bedroll and came down and made it down. And he said, "My buddy will come along with me." So he did that. I'd say less than an hour after they had gotten bedded down, a tactical officer walked by, and when he looked in the room and saw these 2 Caucasian fellows in there with me, he skidded to a halt, turned sharply, came marching into the room. Of course, all of us immediately popped to attention. He ignored me completely. He went over to these fellows, and he chewed them both out. He said, "You know better. You're from the South. You know you're not going to sleep in the same room with him." Emphasis on him. And went on to say that if they didn't move out, that they would probably not get out of the school. So they both very reluctantly moved out of the room. And so I had the 6-man room to myself for two class sessions. And then finally, in the next class, next to the last class, an African-American fellow from Baltimore was moved in with me. And we had quite a joke around the campus, was that I had my own plebe, you know, my undergraduate person, so that when I wanted to brace someone or give them a bad time, I could simply march the fellow over to my side of the room, chew him out, and then, of course, proceed with my work. But I was very happy to be able to graduate second in my class. I had some very interesting experiences too, though. I was counseled in this manner. I was told that, as you know, you have the right to use the cadet club. However, first it became one, you have a right, of course, to, the barber has to cut your hair here if you go there. However, I don't think he's ever had experience cutting colored hair, so you might have a problem getting that done. He went on to say that in the club, you'd certainly have the right to use the club. He said, but if you did, I'm sure that the people would be very uncomfortable, because you see these cadets will have their girlfriends and their wives there, and they just wouldn't be comfortable if you were in the club. And I said, but gee, I do have to have a social outlet, much the same as anyone else. The fellow said, yes, I realize that. And so we've made arrangements that if you want to have any social life, or if you just want to get a haircut, simply call the motor pool and identify yourself, and you will have a car sent to take you into town and wait for you wherever you might wish to go, whether it is social or whether it is to get your hair cut or any other necessities and so forth. So anyhow, that worked out very well. I was the only cadet who had his own chauffeur and own automobile.